This will be the best day.
What's the Lego song, Elo? Not the best day ever. It's Oh no, it's everything's awesome. That's.
All right. When you're done, remember to go to YouTube and click end stream.
Gotcha.
Everything else should be automatic.
Okay. All the chat rooms are open.
Remember to turn off the camera too.
Ah, yeah. Okay.
You guys are ready to start.
Is it already live?
Yes, live.
Oh, I can push graphics.
Full graphics.
Pull, push. And there we are. Hi, everyone. Oh, wow. This is exciting. Okay. So, welcome to week 5 of our craft computing club. My name is Yadira, and I will be teaching this week's class. I'm joined by my co-host, Mr. Elo Hallett. Do you want to say hi?
Hi.
Yeah.
This camera.
Yeah, we're
Producer note.
Producer.
No longer than 25 minutes. It should come in around 20 minutes.
What? The show
No
should be
longer than
20
25
minutes?
minutes.
25 minutes. Okay. Our executive producer, Mr. G, is in the back today. Mr. Galen. We actually got some new equipment, so we're super excited to test this out. And yeah, I guess, you know what? Let's just dive into it because we really only have about 20 to 25 minutes. So yeah, let's delve in. Okay. So next week is our last week together. I hope you have been enjoying all of the fun crafting and computer science things that we've been doing. Just to kind of recap, like how did we get to week 5? What are we up to? And how did we get to this point? Well, I know that last week you guys were working on circuit boards. And then the week before that, you guys were working on CPUs. Or we were all working on CPUs. So let's just kind of revisit that. You know what? I'm gonna test out our new camera. Actually, Elo, you can put it down here if you want, and I'm gonna switch to our new overhead camera. So yeah, let's talk a little bit about our example here. Elo, do you know which one is the CPU on your over here, bud, on your craft?
The CPU.
Mm-hmm. What do you think?
There.
Yeah, exactly. And then you had some really cool details here. So this tells me that this is your circuit board, right? I see all these little circuits, and I love that you guys used some gold yarn to kind of
Wait, those are not gold yarn.
yellow yarn.
Yeah.
Yeah, so what I really enjoy about this circuit board is it looks like you have some really cool story or narrative. I'm picking up vibes of like aquarium adventures, underwater, right? Something with sea.
Yeah.
I see a pirate ship, plankton. I don't know,
Oh,
but
that.
yeah.
It's the. I think it's coral reef. It's coral
Oh,
reef.
coral reef. Okay, cool. Well, let's go back here. Awesome. Okay. So yeah, if you've been following along, you should have something like this. And if not, it's totally fine. Never too late to jump on board. For today, a couple things you need to keep in mind. We are working off of your idea for Not a Box. So keep that project in mind because we'll be working on some more physical components, more crafting components. And so as we wrap this up next week, you definitely want to make sure you have your original idea in mind. Or if you've changed your idea, that's fine. As long as you have that project in mind, we're going to be working towards that goal. So, of course, grab whatever craft materials you might have around you so that you can craft alongside us. Or do it after you watch the show. Yeah, so of course I have a couple of things here, some glue, scissors, markers, papers. We've got just a nice mix of things because I don't really know what Elo has in mind for our project today. So we're going to talk a little bit about that later. Cool. So let me go ahead and get us started. Oh, right. Sorry. Before I click onto the presentation. So our big goal for today is to talk a little bit about inputs and outputs and how they go together. Okay? So without further ado, let me switch over to our presentation. Okay, so just to kind of keep you on your toes, here we have a Nintendo Switch Lite. Yeah, so if you weren't sure what the device was, that's what it is. So we explored the computers from the outside. So we used a Nintendo Switch Lite as our example of a computer, and we talked a little bit about what we were actually seeing from the outside. In this example, I see, actually, Elo, do you see anything interesting on the outside? Mm-hmm.
I see at the bottom are like small exit things on the bottom.
Yeah, bingo. So you see some X's, some shapes. Very good, very good. Let's go down. Oopsies, sorry. Skipped one. Let's go to, okay, right. So we see buttons, control pads, a screen. Oh, sure. Now these are all examples of inputs and outputs. What's funny is yesterday I was looking at a Nintendo Switch and I was like, yeah, and these little knobs here. Little did I know those are actually called joysticks. So, so it just goes to show you, I knew what those inputs were, I just didn't know what they were actually called. So, all right. So we're seeing some, some examples of inputs, or we're seeing buttons, control pads, a screen. Oops, sorry. Hang on, guys. Where's my... Okay, so now I want to look a little bit closer inside. So here we have basically the inside of this computer, of the Nintendo Switch. So a couple of things that we talked about in the last couple of weeks, right? So a CPU, also referred to as a processor, and a circuit board. Elo, is there any chance I can get you to point out where the CPU might be? You can look on my screen here. Close. I think there's a hint here. There's a little fan where I'm circling.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, CPU is right under there. And the reason why it's kind of hidden under the fan is because we know CPUs generate heat. So we've got to keep those nice and cool so they can operate the way they're supposed to, process all that information and the data. So it's hiding back there. And of course, the green base there is our circuit board, kind of similar to what we were crafting with last week. Great, okay. I think I got those. Yep. Okay, guys, so let's jump to some more examples. So here we have some examples of inputs, process, and outputs. So really what we're talking about when we're discussing those three is, well, we push buttons, we move joysticks, we type keys, we click mice. Those are all examples of inputs, right? When we do those things, those inputs send information to, when we do those things, those inputs send info to the CPU, and the CPU processes the information and sends new information to the outputs. So let's take a closer look at that. So here we have part of the Nintendo Switch, some buttons in there that are considered inputs. You've got a touch screen. You've got a computer mouse. You have a computer keyboard. You've got a camera, like an iPhone camera here. All right. And then here, under process, we've got our circuit board and our CPU. And then the output here, these are examples of output. So here we have speakers, our headphones, and here we have a screen. Okay? So hang on, let me just quickly. There we go. Okay. So generally, if we need to talk, touch, or move it, it's considered an input. So I want to just quickly, whoops, let me go back here. I want to talk a little bit about our senses, right? Our 5 senses. So in this case, so if we're talking to something like, say, this microphone, right, that could be considered an input. If we're pushing buttons on a Nintendo Switch, that's also considered an input. If we're using the touch screen of an iPad, phone, that's also considered an input. Same with touching the keyboard or a computer mouse, that's the same thing. Of course, we also have the cameras down here. So all of those, great examples of inputs. So let's now look at examples of outputs. All right. So if we look at it, hear it, or feel it, it's considered an output. And those outputs, so some of the examples I have down here, we've got our speakers. So if you're listening to music, music's going to come out of those speakers. Same idea with the headphones. Music will be coming out of those headphones. Here at the bottom, you've got a printer. So if you are printing coloring pages, the coloring page would come out of the printer as well. You have your monitor, your screen, your computer screen, and then screen for a phone as well. So all examples of an output. Okay. Let's go to our next one. Yeah. Now, right, so you recognize this, right? Okay, so this is interesting because in this case, so here we have our, this is like the Nintendo Switch, right? So touch screens can be examples of input and output, and they can also be called I/O. So I/O just means input and output, both together doing the same thing. So we have the touch screen. And then we have the actual screen, like the images that you would see. And then, of course, the last one, which in this case, you recognize what's on here, Hilo? Mm-hmm. It's Animal Crossing. Yeah. And we're big fans of Animal Crossing at our place, right? This is an example.
What is that bug?
Oh, I don't know.
Oh, it's the snotty bug. Mm-hmm. She does happy.
All right.
And that bloomed.
Yeah. Cool.
The tree bloomed.
So, guys, I'm going to just quickly jump to our activity because I want to make sure we have about 10 minutes or so to work on our crafting activity. So the top row here of our input, process, and output has examples. So we have, again, the Nintendo Switch with some buttons. And I'm just full disclosure, guys. I don't really play Animal Crossing or video games. So if you were to ask me what any of those buttons do, I wouldn't know. So
I know
yeah.
all of the buttons.
So we've got our Nintendo Switch, some buttons that serve as inputs, and also the touch screen. All right, so we know that once we hit XXX, our little guy or character might jump or whatever. That information essentially is being sent over to the CPU. It's getting processed and then out. Well, the result is an output, right? So something that we can actually see is like our Animal Crossing character do the trick that we've asked it to do by pushing those buttons. So the way we're going to do that with craft, we already have, if you can see in my slide here, we already have the process already built in, right? We've got our craft activity, which we're going to switch to in just a moment. But now the thing that's missing is we've got to create an input or an output for our Not a Box project. And so I'm just going to switch here so we can talk a little bit more about that.
And I will maybe make a keyboard.
What? Okay, well, so Ela, what I'm going to ask you to do is, can you walk us through the Not a Box project? I think it had something to do with scanning sea creatures, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so do you want to walk me through that project so that I can help you design an input? So we've got to create some way to help those creatures, right?
Yeah.
So remember the project itself, you were trying to scan the creatures and to see if they're hurt or whatever? Okay, can you tell me how might we do that? How would we identify?
I will make a robot hand.
Oh, a hand. So if you have a hand, right, what would you would like put like the fish or the squid or whatever on the robot hand, and perhaps what would the robot hand do?
No, the robot hand gets what it needs.
It gets what it needs. But
Yeah.
but the first part of that was figuring out if it needs anything, if it's hurt, if it's sick, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I'm thinking, let's see, a robot hand, perhaps as some kind of way to hold it gently, hold the injured creature, right?
Yeah.
And then we can like push a button or so to scan it. Okay, so should we do that?
Yeah.
We have got, like 10 minutes. We've got to go quick. You ready?
Yeah.
Okay, so Dad left us some cardboard. Let's see how we are going to do some kind of robot hand
I think
holder.
Dad left us this.
Okay. Well, when you see these materials, what comes to mind? What?
I hope some chips in here I can eat.
Some chips that you can eat. I'm sorry, bud. Those are no go there. We ate those chips. Okay. So you're going to open this up. How about this? Do you want to maybe trace your hand and then we can curve it so it looks like a holder?
Oh, I actually know how to do that.
Okay, go ahead and awesome. All right. You know how I like to watch those reality like cooking shows? There's a timer. We're going to have to work very efficiently, bud.
Fast.
Yes, but calm. I'm going to set my timer because I'm not going to be looking so much at
I
the
have
chat.
to draw my hand to do this.
All right, you draw your hand and I will cut it out.
No, I got to draw my hand.
Okay. I'm just going to check the chat room real quick. Lionel is with us today. Yay! Hi, Lionel. Awesome. Awesome. Ready?
Look how much I draw on my hand. Then draw on my
Okay.
hand.
So,
I'm not.
okay. So can you continue describing to me if we put a fish in the robot hand, what are we hoping to understand from
Wait, I have to do something.
like no, well, not heartbeat, right? Maybe does it have its
Wait,
gills?
I have
Is
to-
it moving?
First I have to make it hold its hand.
While Elo's doing that, I'm going to show you some other really cool examples here. This is a fishing one that they built not too long ago. I'm not really quite
Dad,
sure.
That is a fun game. You can't catch a shark in there. Only one type of shark. It's really hard to get.
Ah. All right. Okay, stay focused, Mom. All right. So, Elo, I'm going to help you out because we don't have much time. I'm going to cut those out for you. You can always decorate them at the very end. We have about 5 minutes left. Technically 4. And we still have to add some I actually think, I wonder, let me grab some touch screen. Cellophane here. You were
I
drawing.
did something wrong. I did something wrong.
Oh, that's okay. You know what? Why don't you get me your picture? You were drawing some really pretty sharks earlier. Can you get that
Wait
one
a
for me?
second. Wait, sharks?
Yeah, you know that coloring page you had earlier? Meanwhile,
Oh.
I'm going to quickly...
Oh yeah, I don't really know where that thing is.
Wah. You don't know where it went? Okay. Okay, so we have our robot hand. Perhaps it will scan
Scanning.
like a touch screen. Zzz, zzz, zzz. And then perhaps, let's cut that real quick. Do we have any tape here, Elo?
Clean.
Do we have any tape around here? Let's see if we can
Oh.
get some tape to
I can't
complete
get
our.
tape.
Okay.
I'm going to maybe show you guys magic stuff to and get tape.
What, honey?
I maybe show them magic. And I know one magic trick I can do.
A magic trick?
Yeah. Clean my hand. Really? Yeah.
1 second, guys. Oh, here, Elo. Look,
Clean magic.
can you cut out your very favorite animal?
This. Oh, okay.
Okay, so we've got some kind of robotic arm or hand sensor that
I know
will
the
gather
eel.
information.
Look. Look.
This is quite literal in that we are creating an input that you can touch with your whole hand. Okay. So I actually think that's pretty cool. You ready? Elo. For example, which...
Oh, my first one is the eel.
Oh, there's my timer. All right, so let's do an eel. This looks like an electric eel.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Eels are my favorite thing.
Hang on,
I
hang on.
want to do it cutting.
Oh, yeah. Good idea.
And I will cut the body too. The etowide thing.
Sure. So when I think about scanners, I also think of like the X-ray machines at the airports, or when you go to the doctors and you need to get an X-ray. Those are all great ways to see if you, if you've broken a bone, fractured something. So I think the same idea could be applied here with scanning to see if whatever marine life specimen you have is not doing well. Like, is it not behaving? And that, we could also use some visual inputs to see that. Okay. Okay, we've got 2 minutes, CeeLo.
I'm doing it as quick as I can.
You're doing great. Oh, you don't have to. What, do you want to cut all of that? Yeah. Okay. While you do that, let me see if I can add any more. So far, everyone, I'm going to switch over to this other camera. I should have done that earlier. Okay. So far, this is what we've got. We have a touch screen. So, oops. Let me move that out of the way. Here we have a touch screen made out of some plastic wrap. And ideally, it would be in the shape of a hand. We just have the silhouette of it for now. And then we're waiting on Elo. He's going to put the sea creature or electric eel on the hand, and that will serve as like a scanner. And so we can perhaps gather information on the eel, say if it's, I don't know, injured. Okay, so
It's a small eel, guys.
so we collect
Wait.
specimens.
I want to do it.
Did you want to put some glue on it for now to keep it?
That is the real one.
You good?
I have to put the Louis.
Awesome. Okay. And drum roll, we are officially, I think we have,
Oh, come on. I got glue on my hand.
oh, here, let me help you. I'll hold it down since you've got glue on your hands. Awesome. Okay, everyone. So here we have this cool touch screen, which again scans creatures, like aquatic creatures, to see if they're healthy. So you can actually touch it, put your hand on it for better reading. Yeah, or activate it like that. Maybe it unlocks. You know how on phones you have to put in your code to open it up, right? Maybe it can only work if it scans your fingerprints, not anyone else's. So, all right, everyone, I'm going to switch it around so you can see. This is our touch screen. It's a bit of a robot hand that, again, collects information to see if sea creatures are doing well and thriving. So, we did it. It is 3:26. I think we made it just in time. We want to say thank you so much for joining us today. Next week, it's a big week. We're going to be wrapping this up with the final project.
And soon it's going to be my birthday. Then it's going to be my cousin's birthday.
Your birthday isn't until August. Anyway, everyone, thanks again for joining us, and we'll see you next week. Bye. Take care.
Bye.
Yep. You want to say goodbye again?
Bye.
This camera.
Bye.
All right.
I look them.
Okay.